Hey everybody, it's Jason from the Texas Gun Vault, and once again I'm coming to you with another range report. And today's range report is on another awesome firearm from Knight's Armament. I absolutely love to review these guns because it's a Knight's Armament. It's kind of like a Rolex or another high-end brand name like a Ferrari in the car world. And even though the cost of these might not actually reflect their actual value, there's something that just goes along with the name, and Knight's Armament just has that name in the firearms world. It's also the type of gun that I absolutely adore and love to review. It's a tactical firearm. And I know that that might not be everyone's cup of tea, but it's just something that I absolutely love and definitely interests me because I love the history of military firearms. And another reason this is really nice to have here on the table is Knight's Armament's products, because of their reputation, are kind of hard to get a hold of. There is a high demand for them, and so every time they're available at any store online, they're always out of stock. So it's a real treat to get to be able to have one of these on the workbench. And so as always, I want to thank the people that make these videos possible, and the first person I want to thank is the person who has lent this to the channel, thus giving me this opportunity. His name is D, and he has an amazing collection and has lent a lot of really cool firearms to the channel. So thank you so much, D. As always, I want to thank my Patreon supporters because through their monthly donations and support, they help keep the lights on around here, and I couldn't do it without them. And I want to let you guys know you can join my Patreon for as little as $1 a month, and there's a link in the description below. And as always, I want to thank my primary sponsor who provides the ammunition for these range reports, thus making them financially feasible, my good friend Mark from Brownworks. And as I said in the opening of this video, Knight's Armament is just one of those companies that makes quality products. Well, there's a company that makes some of the finest wood grips on the market, and that company is Brownworks. Brownworks is a custom grip company making a wide variety of grips for a wide variety of firearms out of a wide variety of exotic woods and materials. Mark, the owner, is an artist. He's a craftsman. He's always coming up with new and innovative products such as pistol stands and even wood grips for modern sporting rifles. He can make these grips out of exotic woods, laminate woods. He can apply custom logos, custom engravings, custom textures, finish them in a wide variety of colors, and he can even apply exotic materials like snake skin and alligator skin to these grips to make them one of a kind and unique. Each grip is made to order, and they are all one of a kind. So I'm going to ask you guys to go over there and check out his website. I'm going to put a link in the comment section below, as well as a coupon code for 10% off your first order. Please go over there and see everything Mark has to offer. And when you contact him, please tell him the Texas Gun Vault sent you. So let's go ahead and talk about the firearm that we're going to be taking a look at today. The Knight's Armament SR-15 pistol, chambered in 5.56 in flat dark earth. Now I have reviewed the 16-inch barreled version of this, and I absolutely loved that rifle. I did have a few negative things to say about it, and of course a lot of positive things, and I think being that this is the 14.5-inch barreled version, many of my comments are going to be exactly the same. I should take note and let you know that there are a few things about this gun that are different than when it came from the factory. The first is the owner has added an NT4 flash suppressor to this. Now this is a Knight's Armament part, and it's so if you want to run a NT4 suppressor, so that is a Knight's Armament part, as I said, so it really doesn't change the rifle or the pistol in this case all that much. We do have a different safety selector switch. Now this was not the one that came on the gun. It does have a Knight's Armament trigger group in it. However, it is my understanding that this is the new one that Knight's Armament puts on their lower receivers. So this is correct for the modern ones, but not correct for this one. And he also put on a folding Law Tactical buffer tube. So this is easily foldable for storage. It does match the gun, but that is also not original. And I want to let you know about those differences, even though I don't think much of what I'm going to say in this review really affects any of that. So as always, I want to talk about the things that I like and don't like about this firearm before getting it to the range. And the first thing I love about this firearm is that it is a Knight's Armament. And I told you in the opening of this video, there's just something special about Knights. Their history when it comes to military contracts and police contracts. Eugene Stoner, the designer of the AR-15, worked with them for a while. And I guess because so few of these guns actually come on the commercial side of the market, they're just so sought after. If you're looking for Knight's Armament parts for clone rifle builds or just Knight's Armament's firearms in general, they're so hard to come by and you're going to pay a very steep price for them. Now, that might be a big turnoff for a lot of people and be something that they don't like. But for me, I like the collectability of these guns because you guys know I love to collect guns. And Knight's just has that brand name. They're just known for their firearms and just being rare and collectible. One of the things that Knight's Armament does a nice job on with their lowers is the lowers are all ambidextrous. So we have controls for the bolt release, safety selector on both sides, magazine release on both sides. I really do like that. So if you're a left-handed shooter or like to use controls in different ways, you have tons and tons of options on this. I should also mention that this is a DI gun, or a direct impingement gun, so this uses a traditional gas system. I know a lot of people like to go with the short stroke piston guns these days, but when it comes to AR-15s, I'm a big fan of the gas operated ones. And although I'm not really a huge fan of firing an AR-15 in a pistol configuration, I prefer SBRs, I have to say the choice of the SB tactical brace is really the right way to go. I've noticed a lot of these pistol braces are all made of aluminum or metal in the modern world, but the SB tactical ones are actually rubber, and I think adhere to their original philosophy of being a pistol brace. And I find that these malleable rubber ones are a lot more comfortable on the shoulder. Of course, I would much prefer a stock, but the brace is going to be just fine, especially if it's one of these more rubberized ones. Another thing that I really like about this gun is the rail. Now, Knight's Armament's rails are really, really nice. Their older ones are really sought after, but this is their modern iteration. Lots of M-lock slots everywhere. I feel like it's very well designed. Of course, the barrel is free-floated. You get tons of rail space on the top for a ton of accessories, anything you could possibly imagine. And they're just really well built, they're really nice, and probably in the future, these modern ones will be very sought after for clone rifle builds and the like. The last thing about this gun that really sticks out to me is the trigger. Now, Knight's puts in a two-stage trigger in this, and I think for a semi-automatic firearm, they're perfect. They have a wonderful take-up, they're very crisp, and they break at a very low weight. So what I want to do is I want to adjust the camera, I want to get up the lineman trigger pull weight gauge and see what this thing is actually pulling at and get a little bit of data on that before we talk about the things about this gun that I don't like. So let me go ahead and adjust the camera. Alright, so let's see what this trigger is all about. These Knight's Armament two-stage triggers are usually really nice. We'll start by dropping the magazine, ensure there's no ammunition in it. We'll turn the gun over, and then of course we will safety inspect the firearm, make sure there is nothing in the chamber, and it looks like we are good. So now let me get out the lineman trigger gauge. Let me go ahead and clear the averages, and let's get some data on this trigger. So for our first pull, 4 pounds, 4.7 ounces. £4 pounds, 13.3 ounces. 4 pounds, 10.4 ounces. 4 pounds, 7.1 ounces. And finally, we have 4 pounds, 6.2 ounces, which gives us an average of 4 pounds, 8.3 ounces. And I think that is an exceptional trigger pull. It's not too light, but definitely not too heavy. Something just under 5 pounds I think is absolutely perfect for a firearm like this. So that's what this nice Armament trigger is all about. So now let's get back to the rest of this range report and maybe talk about a couple things about this gun that I don't like. And as you can see, the trigger in this firearm is pretty darn good. I don't know if it's as good as the Geisley's, but I think it comes in a very close second place. And for a semi-automatic AR-15 pistol, it fits the bill perfectly. So now let's talk about a couple things about this firearm that I don't like. And the first thing is something that mirrors my comments when it comes to the rifle version of this same gun. And that's going to be the finish. Now I know I said I like the flat dark earth color. However, when it comes to the application of this color, I really feel like Knights lets a lot of people down. It's obviously either a Cerakote or a gun coat or some type of sprayed on finish. But if I show you the magwell here, you can see that the spray doesn't go very deep into it. If you take this gun apart, you'll notice that the internals of this looks like it's oversprayed or just not sprayed enough. It's not applied evenly. And when it comes to the handguard, you'll notice that they just kind of spray it and you get overspray on the barrel. Let me see if I can show you down onto the barrel there. There's some parts that are sprayed, some parts that aren't. What I think that they do is they build these guns out in all black and then decide how many they're going to make in flat dark earth, and then they just put them into a spray booth and spray them down. And I know that for many militaries and police forces it's not going to make any difference whatsoever, but on the civilian sides of things, where people are paying a lot of money for these firearms, they're going to expect something a little bit nicer and a little bit more care put into the finish of the firearm. And I really feel like Knight's Armament lets people down. Now the all black version of this gun is perfectly fine, but the flat dark earth ones I think just look a little bit sloppy. But who knows, maybe that's the coolness of the gun. People want something that is exactly like the military and the police forces are going to get. So I guess that really depends on what you're looking for. But for me, I really feel like they need to do a better job. The last thing about this gun that I don't like is generally the price point. Knights releases way too few guns for the civilian market and asks way too much money. Are they worth it? Well, that's up to you. You know, there are many gun companies that make high-end AR-15s that aren't as expensive as this one that I think have a lot more options. But of course, they're not a Knights. So I guess you're having to do that battle in your mind. It's a brand name and it comes with the history and the prestige of a Knights, but do you really get what you pay for? As a gun collector and shooter, I really feel like Knights needs to lower their prices just a little bit and release more guns on the civilian side of the firearms world. I think they'd make more money, but heck, I am not a businessman, and I just know that gun collectors would really appreciate that. But those are my thoughts on this and what I don't like. So as always, let's now get this gun to the range, and I'm going to set the target at 10 yards. And so for my first shots on this, I'm just going to load up one magazine. I want to check the shootability of this gun, see how it's gassed, what the recoil is like, and just see if I discover anything else about this gun that I like or don't like and report back to you. So here we go. The first magazine on the Knight's Armament 14.5-inch barreled pistol. So let's go to the range. And after the first magazine, well, the gun shoots exactly as I would expect from a gun made by Knight's Armament. It seems to be well balanced, well gassed. It's exceptionally low recoiling and soft recoiling for a 5.56 pistol or rifle. And the feel of this gun is really nice because the lockup or the fit between the upper and the lower receiver is very tight. So it feels like a very solid gun. So on the shootability scale, I'm very impressed with this firearm. All right, so the next test I'm going to do is double the distance on this target and go for the head on this IDPA silhouette. I'm going to assume the gun is going to continue to perform flawlessly, but we'll just have to see. So here we go back to the range. Let's shoot it some more and see if we discover anything else about it. And pretty much I have exactly the same comments as I had in the previous section. Essentially, the gun is running flawlessly. When it comes to the ejections, they are consistent and strong. It seems to be perfectly gassed. It's a very shootable firearm. The one thing I am noticing about this that maybe if I had to be super nitpicky is it is a little bit heavy for an AR-15 pistol. It does have a 14.5-inch barrel, which is kind of long, and we also have this really nice Schmidt-Bender optic on the top, so that's probably adding a lot of the weight. But that weight means the gun recoils so soft and barely has any muzzle rise. All right, so the next test I want to do is to essentially bench rest this. And I know I'm only going to shoot this at 25 yards. And there's already people in the comments section frantically typing, "This isn't a good test," and laughing and saying that gun can go out way further than that. And I totally get it and I totally agree. However, I am reviewing this gun from the perspective of a CQB-style weapon, something that you may buy for home defense. And 25 yards is going to be way further than any need you may have in that situation. So I just want to see what the tightest group I could shoot with this rifle is, or this pistol. So here we go. Let's go back to the range, put another magazine through it, and see how it performs in this test.
Yeah, went around the horn after a while. I did all of them. That's awesome. Okay. Okay. How about? Yeah, okay. You gotta find that 300. Okay.
And pretty much that's the accuracy I would expect out of a Knight's Armament and an AR-15 pistol in general at this distance. So for home defense, this accuracy is way more than you would ever need. It really is exceptional. Now this is also where this two-stage trigger really shines, because you can stage that trigger just before the break and it's very predictable and very crisp. I absolutely love the Knight's Armament two-stage trigger in this gun. All right, so the next test I'm going to do is the shoot it fast and change the magazine out fast fast test. Essentially, if you had to use this in a home defense scenario and change out the magazine, I just want to make sure that I can do it. And this is where having all these ambi controls, I think, is a huge advantage. But I'm going to do this more in the traditional way, but if you're a left-handed shooter, I'm sure you can do it just as fast. So here we go. Let's go back to the range, see how fast I can shoot it, change the magazine out, and get the gun back in action. And pretty much if you're used to the manual of arms of a standard AR-15, you can do this fast. The magazine just drops right out of there. You can get a fresh one in there, get the gun back in action, no problem. But when it comes to this two-stage trigger, I think it slowed me down a little bit because it has all of that take up before the wall. I think if I design a gun or build a gun for competitive shooting where I have to shoot fast, I would rather have a crisp single-stage trigger. But if I care more about shot placement and accuracy, I would go with a two-stage trigger. But that would just be a personal preference. But you can definitely still shoot this two-stage trigger fast, just maybe not as fast as a single-stage one. All right, so the last test I want to do really isn't a test, it's just me wanting to have some fun. It's the mag dump test. So let me load up one of these magazines and just shoot it as fast as I can, and then we'll come back here and I'll give you my final thoughts on this really cool Knight's Armament pistol.
Back to the left, like. Awesome, yeah.
And yeah, that is a lot of fun. I'm very impressed with this firearm with the very low muzzle rise and very soft recoil. It's very easy to keep all those shots on target. It's a very shootable gun. I'm just very impressed with it, and it is very fun. And that means a lot to me when it comes to these reviews. So what are my final thoughts on the Knight's Armament 14.5-inch barreled 5.56 SR-15 pistol? Well, just like all of the other KAC firearms I have reviewed, it is well built, very accurate, a lot of fun, definitely collectible. I do have some issues with the finish, but I've already talked about that. The trigger in it is very nice. I really have no issues with it whatsoever. It's very shootable and a lot of fun. I think the biggest downside for a lot of people is going to be the price. So it really matters on whether you care more about the functionality of the gun or what the gun is. If you care about brand names and want something like this in your collection, well, it might be worth the price. But if you only care about function, I think there's ARs just like this that are a little bit more affordable that do everything this gun does. So that's going to have to be a decision you have to make for yourself. But on my star system, how would I rate the SR-15 pistol from Knight's Armament? Well, I give it a solid 4 out of 5 stars. I really think the rifle version with the 16-inch barrel is a little bit nicer and a little bit more shootable. I absolutely loved that rifle. And maybe if this was an SBR, I would like it just as much. But it's a very shootable gun, but a very expensive gun. But no issues to report. It's very accurate. And if you wanted to buy something like this for home defense, I definitely think it would be more than adequate. So let me know in the comments section below, what are your opinions on Knight's Armament? Are they worth the money? They're definitely quality. Or would you go in a different direction because you care more about functionality? So, as always, thanks for watching.